ready to explore the Hebrew roots of your Christian faith? Shalom, and welcome back to Tuesday night Torah Studies. I'm hoping that I am on well. Looks like there's a little trouble with internet in my local area, so hopefully I'm coming clear for you guys on this Tuesday night. Welcome back. So before we get into the review of last week, I want to kind of talk a little bit about biblical timeline. As we've been reading the word of Yehovah, even from Genesis on, we've been discussing timeline because it's a part of understanding the word of Yehovah. But some of us tend to have thoughts in our head that things happen like back to back, verse by verse, right behind each other. But we don't think about verse after another verse, that it can be a large or even a small amount of time between verses, sometimes even years. So let me tell you about what brought this on for me. So last night I was meditating on the word, and I was meditating on the plagues that we've been discussing, that we've been studying, starting back in chapter 7 of Exodus, and then eventually it's going to go all the way to Exodus chapter 12, and that's about 5 chapters. So the question is, how much time has taken place in these 5 chapters? Now, some would say 10 plagues, so that's 10 days. I mean, you can, I guess, but you have to really dive into the word. But I want to give you an example of this. So in Acts chapter 10 and Peter's vision, we do know that chapter 10 is about 4 to 5 days in that chapter. And we wouldn't pay attention to that if we wasn't carefully studying the word of Yehovah. And there's many examples of that in the Bible. So I'm speaking of this because I want to encourage you to dive into the word and not just read it. Actually take your time and investigate what has been said so that you can understand it, because it's those small things that we miss that can actually give us a better understanding of the word of Yehovah. Welcome to Reconcile the Kingdom. We're working towards growing in the harmony of the whole word of truth. My name is Patrice Robinson, and I appreciate every last one of you who's able to join me live on today, despite the internet issues that is going on in my local area. But also, I want to say thank you for those who also will be joining me on the replay. Most definitely, everyone, I am greatly appreciated. I am very appreciative to all the returning subscribers, all of those who return, who shares, who comments. I greatly appreciate you. And I want to welcome to the family all new subscribers. Thank you once again for your support in joining me on this journey and in this ministry. All the support is most definitely important, and this is how we get the word out. To all visitors, welcome. I'm hoping that you're ready to join this family that does not mind searching the scripture, family does not mind challenging the religious system teachings that we have been under for hundreds of years. A family that is open to being a lifetime student of the Bible and ready to explore the Hebrews of your Christian faith. And it's easy to join this family. All you have to do is hit that subscribe button below. Don't forget the bell. And the bell is important because it lets you know when I'm live, any announcements, anything that comes from this ministry that's important, or fun facts. You also have an opportunity to check those messages out on the community tab, because I also put notifications out on that area too. But I just want to thank you for supporting this ministry and joining. But that's not the only way that you can support this ministry. You can support this ministry by making comments. Send an emoji, smiley face if you're enjoying things, or whatever emoji that you feel that you need to share. You can make comments even if you disagree. You can make a comment, and that's fine. We just make it respectful. Share the link when you're live. Share the link when you're watching on the replay. Give me a thumbs up anytime that I'm sharing some biblical content with you. You're getting some insight. You're learning something. A light bulb comes on, however you may want to say it. Give me a thumbs up, because we are trying to most definitely spread the ministry forward so people can get biblical truth without the tradition of man. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Spotify, and YouTube podcasts. And anytime that you're interested in any of the sheets that I use in the ministry as I teach, you can find all that in Etsy, in the Etsy store, the RK Biblical Studio, and all the things that we just talk about as supporting the ministry. That information can be found in the description box. And you can take a look at that later and shop whatever you decide to do and what way to support the ministry. And I know the Love Jar is not here as giving financial monetary support. I'm working on that, and that is not a main concern for me. I kind of trying to get everything else taken care of, and I'll let you know once I have that set up. So once again, we are in the book of Exodus. Exodus is a moving and shaking book. There's always so much going in it. So Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, in the prophets book, the book of Acts, Revelation, there are just fast moving books that requires for a person to take their time in the studies and don't rush through it. And I'm thankful for you guys who allow me to take my time. And then when I recognize myself rushing, I slow it down a bit because I want everyone to get all of the word of Yehovah, an understanding, having that foundation so that you will know how to apply the word in your life. This word is most definitely applicable from Genesis on. There's a way to apply the word in your life. So I'm hoping right now that you remember that at the end of the teaching today, you're able to ask questions about the teaching that's presented to you. I encourage you to make comments. I encourage you to share the link throughout the teaching. Anytime you have a question, you can still send those questions in. I will address the questions at the end of the teaching on today. And during the replay, you are allowed to send those questions because I address those questions and comments then. So make sure you have your Bible before you, all the writing utensils that you need as we are going to study Exodus chapter 10. Now, we first go over the key points. We're going to go over the key points for Exodus chapter 9, and I'm going to bring my sheet up. Again, this is Exodus chapter 9. My key points will focus on the plagues. The fifth, sixth, and seventh plague. The fifth plague, the plague of the death of the livestock. Remember, Goshen, that's the land where the children of Israelites were, the Hebrew people, were protected from that plague. Plague number 6, the plague of the boils. The boils were all over their bodies, the animals, and everything. They didn't even want to go before Moses at this time because the plagues were so bad. The boils were so bad. But Goshen, again, was protected from this. And then what we see is the plagues of sores in the book of Revelation. So let me read that to you. That's Revelation chapter 16, verse number 2. This is after the 6th bowl of Yehovah's wrath poured up on the earth. This is Revelation 16 and 2. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noosome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worship his image. Again, this is on the wrath of Yehovah. And then the 7th plague, we have the plague of the hailstorm. And again, Goshen of the children of Israel was protected from this plague. And here's another plague that we find in the book of Revelation. So this is doing the 7th bowl of Jehovah's wrath poured up on the earth, again in Revelation 16 and 21. So in the cross reference, I will have both these verses in there for you. Revelation 16:21, and there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent, that's like 100 pounds, And men blasphemed Elohim because the plague of the hail, the plague thereof was exceedingly great. Can you imagine 100-pound hail falling upon the earth? I can't imagine, and I don't want to see it. So the plagues were important to me because we see this pattern again in the book of Revelation. Now, Pharaoh's purpose also stood out before me in Exodus chapter 9. Pharaoh's presence serves a purpose, as Yehovah has stated. Despite the potential of him being able to eradicate him and his people through the plagues previously, but Yehovah is taking his time because what? He most definitely wants to show his divine power and to ensure that his name resonates across the earth. And you will eventually see that people will hear about the children of Israel as we get further into the Torah. But that is not the only one who wanted to make sure that Yehovah's name is known. Do we understand that in the Hadashah, the New Testament, Yeshua wanted to make sure that Yehovah's name was known also. So throughout the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Yeshua speaks a lot about Yehovah's name, who sent him, and he represents, and they are one. So there are times when people from non-denominational religious systems ask me about the name, how important the name is and things like that. So what I usually do is point them to John chapter 17, because I want them to know from the point of view of Yeshua, his son, makes a point of how important his name is. Again, Yeshua speaks about this throughout the gospel, but many people don't pay attention to that. They just pay attention to Yeshua. But Yeshua's prayer in chapter 17 of John, he states how important the Father's name is. But I'm only going to give you a snippet. Again, I recommend for you to read chapter 17 in its entirety. So John 17, 11, and 12 says, this is Yeshua praying about his disciples that he have with him and those in the future, meaning all of us. So it says, Holy Father, protect them by your name, the name you gave me, so that they may be one as we are one. While I was with them, I protected and preserved them by your name, the name you gave me. Not one of them has been lost except for the son of destruction, which is Judas Iscariot, so that the scripture would be fulfilled. So Yeshua also wanted to make sure that everyone knew Yehovah's name and who he was representing plenty of times. But people don't pay attention to that. This is why I point them to John chapter 17 so they can study on those things. So I'm going to point you to my application and my insight. Again, it's that timeline of the hailstorm because it destroyed all the budded crops. Now, it destroyed the budded crops of the barley and the flax. We know that this happened around March and April because we know that the barley is part of the first fruits during the Passover and unleavened bread time. Again, that's March and April. And we know it's not in May or June because the wheat has not budded. Again, go back to Exodus chapter 9, and that will probably be a better understanding for you. So I have my word study, again, the cross-reference we talked about today, and no questions at this moment. I will leave my sheet up as usual for a while to give you an opportunity to share your key points, your comments, your questions, or anything according to Exodus chapter 9 that we discussed today and last week. And we are going to head straight to Exodus chapter 10. There is a lot that we need to cover, and we're going to go ahead and get started. 10 Verse 1, and Yehovah said to Moses, go into Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart and the heart of his servants, that I might show thee my signs before him, and that thou mayest tell in the ears of thy son and the son's son what things I have wrought in Egypt, and my signs which I have done among them, that ye may know how that I am Yehovah. Yehovah doesn't want anyone to forget what happened in Egypt. He doesn't want the Hebrews, the Israelites, the Jews, any believer to forget what happened in Egypt. He came to Egypt and he has not only proven that he's a greater Elohim, but all the other people who claim they're gods or serve other gods are all false gods. He made Egypt look foolish. Now, the children of Israel should have taken a note. They should have recognized. They should have faith in and remember what he had done in this time while they're in Egypt. And of course, the things that were happening in the wilderness, because it doesn't happen to many people. It doesn't happen, not without Yehovah being on your side. So all the events from the time that Moses returns to Egypt to leaving and going across the Red Sea is important to remember. It is so important that Yehovah requests for his people to remember many times. Now, Moses reminded them of this very thing before they crossed over to the Jordan, because there's some questions that you're going to have to answer to your sons, your grandsons, which mean your children, your grandchildren, and on. Deuteronomy 6, verse 20 through 25. In the future, when your sons ask, what is the meaning of all of the decrees, the statutes, and the ordinance that Yehovah Elohim has commanded you? They're going to ask us questions. This is what you're going to tell them. Then you will tell him, we were slaves of Pharaoh in Egypt, but Yehovah brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand. Before your eyes, Yehovah inflicted great and devastating signs and wonders on Egypt, on Pharaoh and all his household. But he brought us out from there to lead us in and give us the land that he has sworn to our fathers. And Yehovah commanded us to observe all these statutes and to fear Yehovah Elohim, that we may always be prosperous and preserved as we are to this day. And if we are careful to observe every one of these commandments before Yehovah our Elohim, as he had commanded us, then that will be our righteousness. This is the reason why you receive these instructions. Not only that you be prosperous and preserved, but shows that Elohim is with you. Remember where he brought the people from to where you are. Now, we're not saved by works. I don't want people to think that that's what I think. But I will show you my faith by my works. Remember, James spoke about that. James chapter 2, verse 18. Go ahead and give a study in that alone. Verse 3, and Moses and Aaron came into Pharaoh and said to him, thus said Yehovah, Elohim of the Hebrews, how long wilt thou refuse to humble thyself before me? Let my people go, that they may serve me. Remember, that is the commandment. Let my people go, that they may serve me. Else, if thou refuse to let my people go, behold, tomorrow will I bring the locusts unto thy coast, and they shall cover the face of the earth, that one cannot be able to see the earth, and they shall eat the residue of that which is escape, which remaineth unto you from the hail, and shall eat every tree which groweth for you out of the field. And they shall fill thy houses, and the houses of all thy servants, the houses of all the Egyptians, which neither thy fathers nor thy fathers' fathers have seen since the day that they have walked on the earth until this day. And he turned himself and went out from Pharaoh. And Pharaoh's servant said unto him, how long shall this man be a snare unto us? Let the men go, that they may serve Yehovah their Elohim. Knowest thou not yet that Egypt is destroyed? What does Egypt have left? We do know the hailstorm destroyed many of the crops, the trees, and the greenery, but there seems to be some left over. The hailstorm did not leave Egypt into starvation, but it most definitely had greatly reduced the amount of food that they have left. So now we have this eighth plague, the plague of the locusts. The locusts will be so many that whatever was left from the hailstorm will be eaten up by the locusts. That means there will be none of the veggies, the fruits, or the crops that grows on the trees, and all that will be gone. They already lost many of the livestock in the fifth plague, the death of the livestock. This country is getting destroyed, devastated, due to they are facing judgment at this time. We have to remember that this is about judgment. Verse 8, and Moses and Aaron were brought again into Pharaoh, and he said unto them, go, serve Yehovah, Elohim, but who are they that shall go? So now he's asking questions. And Moses said, we will go with our young and our old, with our sons, with our daughters, with our flocks, with our herds, will we go? For we must hold a feast unto Yehovah. And he said unto them, let Yehovah be so with you, as I will let you go, and your little ones look to it. For evil is before you. Not so. Go now, ye that are men, and serve Elohim, for that ye did desire. And they were driven out from Pharaoh's presence. Okay. At this point, Pharaoh is ready to talk again, because this locust thing is that's gonna just be over the top, right? So he's trying to once again negotiate with Moses, the father, about his people. You see, Pharaoh did not mind the people going at this point, some of the people, but he wanted to make sure the people will come back and serve him. We cannot serve two masters. Remember, Yehovah said, let my people go that they may serve me. Not only serve me, they will have a feast with me, okay? But this is not what's going on in Pharaoh's head. Pharaoh's head is thinking that they're going to go do a feast and they're going to come back and serve him. Now, Yeshua said this same thing. You cannot serve two masters. No one can serve two masters. Either he will hate the one or love the other, will be devoted to one or despite the other. You cannot serve Elohim and some other God. You cannot serve Elohim and money. You cannot serve Elohim and, put something above him. Again, Matthew chapter 6, verse 24. Pharaoh was open to the men leaving, not the little ones, because it's evil for you to think that I'm going to let you go and you don't come back. You're not planning on returning. Again, Pharaoh does not understand when Yehovah said, let my people to go to serve me, that means they're not coming back. He wants to make sure that they come back and serve him. Verse 12, and Yehovah said unto Moses, stretch out thy hand over the land of Egypt, for the locusts they may come up on the land of Egypt and eat every herb of the land, even all the hail hath left. And Moses stretched forth his rod over the land of Egypt, and Yehovah brought an east wind upon all the land all that day and all that night. And when it was morning, the east wind brought the locusts. And the locusts went up all over the land of Egypt and rested in all the coasts of Egypt. Very grievous were they. Before them there were no such locusts as they, neither after them shall be such, for they covered the face of the whole earth, so that the land was darkened. And they did eat every herb of the land, all the fruit of the trees, which the hail had left, and there remained not any green thing in the trees or in the herbs of the field throughout the land of Egypt. Again, the plague of the locust, this eighth plague, the locust ended up finishing up from whatever was left from the hailstorm. It wasn't going to work with the people of Yehovah serving Yehovah and coming back and serving Pharaoh, which again was Pharaoh's mindset. Like, he wanted the people to go do a feast and come back and be their slaves, go back to normal. Just one and done thing is probably what he had in his mind. But Moses lifted up his rod, and from the east, the wind came along. Then here come the locusts all morning, all night. And the locusts had eaten up everything. Every fruit, every greening of the trees, the herbs of the land in the field. There was nothing left. Nothing left. That's very sad. Then Pharaoh called to Moses and Aaron in haste. And he said, I have sinned against Yehovah your Elohim, against you. Now, therefore, forgive, I pray thee, my sin only this once, and entreat Yehovah Elohim that he may take away from me this death only. And he went out from Pharaoh and entreated Yehovah. And Yehovah turned a mighty strong west wind, which took away the locusts and cast into the Red Sea. There remained not one locust in all the coasts of Egypt, but Yehovah hardened Pharaoh's heart so that he would not let the children of Israel go. Pharaoh could see that everything is dying, is death. This is not going to happen. This is why he said, take away this death. There's nothing left. When you have no food, you are going to die from starvation. However, Pharaoh did not listen to his servants, and so things continued to go steadily downhill, which to me is an understatement. It went horribly wrong. So at this point, he is repenting. He's repenting not from his heart, but just really wanted the locusts to go away. He's now repenting to turn from his wicked ways and to begin to serve Yehovah. You know, this is common for people to do. Some people repent because they do not want to go to the lake of fire. I understand that. But they don't come and serve Yehovah. You repenting, but you're not serving Yehovah. So this is what we see Pharaoh doing. So a locust came with the east wind and the left by the west wind and cast right into the Red Sea. I'm hoping that things working out. I think I'm getting that internet problem. I'm so sorry if you guys having problems on tonight. Verse 21, and Yehovah said unto Moses, stretch out thy hand toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt. And Moses stretched forth his hand toward heaven, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Egypt for 3 days. They saw not one another, nor rose anyone from his place for 3 days. But all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. So here we go with this ninth plague. This is the plague of the darkness. This is darkness that can be felt. Now, I've never heard of this type of darkness before. I don't even want to be around this type of darkness. It's darkness with the inability to get a sense of things is what I am used to. But this is different. This is darkness that can be felt. Now, it was not only darkness you can feel, but the problem is that it lasted for 3 whole days. 3 days. Now, can you imagine that there's darkness that you can feel all around you, but you able to see Goshen from a distance, and you see that there's light? Can you imagine how that will feel, what that would be like? It is so dark, but you can look around and see from your balcony or wherever you are that there's light in Goshen. I just can't imagine what that is like. Verse 24. And Pharaoh called to Moses and said, Go ye, serve Yehovah, only let your flocks and your herds be stayed. Let your little ones also go with you. And Moses said, Thou must give us also sacrifices and burnt offerings, that we may sacrifice our Yehovah Elohim. Our cattle also should go with us. There should not any hoof be left behind, for thereof must we take to serve Elohim, our Yehovah Elohim, and we know not with what we must serve Jehovah until we come thither. But Jehovah hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he will not let the people go. And Pharaoh said unto him, Get thee from me. Take heed to thy face, see my face no more, for in that day thou seest my face, thou shalt die. And Moses said, Thou hast spoken well. I will see thy face again no more. Again, we have Pharaoh still trying to negotiate with Moses. He basically was saying that you can go, your young ones can go, but you cannot take your flocks and your herds have to stay here. But, you can go, you're young and you're old. Now, how are they supposed to offer offers without that? Now, I know when I used to read cattle in the Bible, my mind will automatically go to cows, just cows. And that's all I would think about is cows. But this does not mean the cows. So if you look that up in the Strong's cattle H4735, it is my new cattle in general, including cows, sheep, basically all the animals, the herds and the flocks, all together, the domestic animals. So that's what that cattle is. So I don't want you to get this mixed up like I did in the past. But the point is, Pharaoh's heart is hardened by Yehovah, and he is so angry because he's not getting his way. And from the beginning, he wants Moses to leave him. Get out of my face, basically what he's saying. And one would wonder why Pharaoh had not done anything about Moses and Aaron in the first place. He allowed Moses and Aaron to come for him in front of him plenty of times and did nothing. The reason why he didn't do anything because Yehovah made sure that Moses was a God to Pharaoh. So that's why he didn't do anything. So basically, the next time Pharaoh says, I see your face, you will die. And Moses like, I won't see your face anyway. Moses said, well said, because he knows about the next plague. Now, he doesn't know all the instructions on how to get ready at this point. Jehovah's going to give him that. But he does know there's another plague that is about to happen on during the next time. Now, I don't see any questions or any comments that I need to address. I am done with the teaching on today. I'm hoping that this went well in this live. And if you have any questions, any comments, you're most definitely welcome to do that during the replay. Like I said, I always address those things. Now, don't forget to join me on Saturday. We are on episode number 7 of What Did Yeshua Teach? And join me next Tuesday as we are in Exodus chapter 11, which is a short chapter. So I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to add in part of chapter 12. So we will figure that out. I will have that information for you beforehand and give you notification of the passage of study. As always, man does not live by bread alone, but every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yehovah. Have a blessed rest of the week, and I will see you on Saturday at 10 o'clock a.m. I'm very excited as we continue our walk with Yeshua, our Messiah. Thank you for joining me today and your support. And of course, I always end with the ending music. Thank you for listening.